I looked at the list of people and I even saw some names. So shout out to those persons who I've worked with, teach, engage with, and thank you for being here. And as we said, community over isolation. And I noticed as you introduce yourselves, each person was talking about which group they're part of. And that wasn't separation for me. That was identification. You know, when people listen things, they go away with different interpretation. They'd be like, oh, well, one person came on and she said she's a part of the 2S LGBTQ. And this person said, well, they're indigenous. And this person, and I feel like a lot of separation. No, that's what you are feeling. That's not what we are doing here. What we're doing here is community and allowing individual community members to show up as their whole authentic self. And that is something for those of you who do work in this for you to understand, because there's always a colonial logic. I hope you notice whenever you try to do your joy and try to do your work, there's someone coming with colonial logic to try to explain to you why what you're doing doesn't matter. Why Black lives, we shouldn't say Black Lives Matter. Why we shouldn't be centering towards LGBTQIA+. Why we shouldn't be doing the land management. Why? There's that thing called colonial logic trying to explain us away. I'm pausing for dramatic effect. Trying to explain us away. I just started, I have to calm down because I just started at 45 minutes to go, but my engine is on full right now. I've been sitting here, I am on full because I'm ready to go. So because I'm going to tell you why I am so full, because I'm in a space of persons who are self-identified. We're talking about persons who are First Nations. We're talking about persons who are racialized, 2S LGBTQIA+, members with disability. I want to say welcome to this space. Welcome to your space. Welcome to your space. I know I'm saying welcome to your space. That's kind of sound weird, but I'm telling you, welcome to this space, because sometimes we forget the importance of welcoming each other in the space. So I want to say that. And I'm happy we're here in the power of solidarity. We're here with the power of solidarity. I do a lot of work in anti-Black racism. I do a lot of work in racism. One of our professors who is at OISE with me, Professor Mary Reed, she does a lot of work in anti-Asian hate. And we are absolutely close friends, and we talk a lot about how do we work, listen to me carefully, how do we work and walk in solidarity. We speak a lot about how do we work and walk in solidarity. Make a note of that. And as we talk today about resistance, resilience, and reclamation, I want us to understand why are we doing that? Why are we doing that? Because too often as Indigenous, Black, racialized, LGBTQ, disabled folks, we are either excluded, erased, and overlooked, or we are spotlighted, singled out, tokenized, and used as optics and poster child. They only come to you because it's Pride Month and they want to take a picture of the gay teacher in the gay t-shirt to put on a poster somewhere. How do we intentionally show up and say to people, I want to make sure you honor me as my whole self 365 days a year? Because what we are finding is that we are getting our voices heard, but it's heard in what I call crumbs. We're doing crumbs. So Black History Month, that 28 days is for you, Andrew. And we're giving this one orange t-shirt day for First Nations. And we may mention missing and murdered Indigenous women. We may mention land back. We may say decolonize. We may say white supremacy. According to the event of the day, according to who is there, you don't want to offend. So I want us to understand the reason why this is so important. It is important for us to show up. I tell you two things, two stories. I'm a storyteller. I tell you two great quick stories. I had the pleasure of doing keynote and being a host for a conference earlier this year. So in September, I was in Ottawa at the Enchante conference, the Enchante 2S LGBTQIA+ conference. And before the conference started, I came early in the day. And so before the conference started, I was being, shown around because I was going to be the host for the next 3 days. I was being shown around different rooms, different spaces. And we went to the ballroom. And when they opened the door, it was just beautiful. And they were doing sound check. And I went in and I turned to the person who was showing me around and I said, imagine this room tomorrow morning just full of 2S LGBTQIA plus people living their best life, unbothered, undisturbed, undistracted, and just being in joy and community. It was a powerful moment. We both looked at each other and we got emotional. And that was the first time I think in my life, yes, I met so many two-spirited persons who had come into Ottawa from way out. I'm still friends with about 3 of them online right now in my Instagram. We text each other. We are building community, solidarity in community over isolation. A month after I left that amazing space, I was a keynote in University of Manitoba, and the Manitoba teachers, I think it's Teaching Federation or something like that, they combine and have a 2S LGBTQIA plus conference. And I must tell you, this one of the signature was that every single person in the conference self-identified 2S LGBTQIA plus. They didn't put anybody in. They didn't allow anybody because of their political, standing or their academic standing. They did not unless you self-identify. Even the leaders from other universities and colleges that brought greetings all identified. And later on in that conference, I noticed the level of vulnerability. I felt it. It was so powerful. I kept going. I did my keynote. I just felt myself that's just like, it was amazing. And the hugs and the commendation and every single thing. But then when I went out into the workshops and I was just a participant sitting down, listening to the level of sharing, and people would preface, let me listen to carefully, would preface their sharing by saying, I feel so safe, thank you. I keep on telling people, leaders in this room, leaders outside this room, stop going into school boards and spaces and classrooms and getting some abandoned room, painting it yellow, because we want a warm color, putting some cushions there, putting a vase with nice yellow flowers because yellow is friendly. It's cute. Give it some good yoga music because you want to set the mood, and then you write on the door, this is a safe space. And then 1 week after that, people start to complain how much they're offended and how much something happened and somebody was rude to them or embarrassed them or something. Because what we have done is force people to say they feel safe without acknowledging that they need to be brave. So there are no safe spaces without brave spaces. We need to encourage bravery. Then we go into safety. So there are places I show up when I do not feel safe. But I can tell you, I felt brave. And it's important that we nurture the bravery among ourselves. And we nurture that by being in community, by being in solidarity. Let no one put you against each other. This idea of, well, I remember, I tell you the story, when somebody approached me and said, Dr. Campbell, what do you think of the term BIPOC? And I said, well, I don't even think it's a term or a word. It's just some letters they put together. I said, don't worry, it's not that important. And they wanted a big conversation about it. And I said, I do not care. Why I did not care? Because the conversation was about Black being before I, which is indigenous. And this was someone who was coming with what I consider a waste of time conversation about the B and the I. And I said, I don't care where you put the letter. You could put it in a bag and shake it like a Scrabble game. As long as at the end of the day, you show me your intentional actions. That's what I'm about. I'm not about your flags. I'm not about your buttons and your crests and your embers and your symbols. I teach leadership. I know the value of symbols and emblems. They are part of an organization identity. I teach that stuff. But we are so wrapped up, Allison, in a symbol. We are so wrapped up, Erin, in a flag. We are so wrapped up in a song. We are so wrapped up in a dance. We are so wrapped up in a drum. We are so wrapped up in a day. We are so wrapped up in a slogan. We forget we need to act. Have you seen people take up bright orange t-shirt? They wear it with pride and they take it off and they feel like they have done the world. They feel like they have changed the world. It's like they have done the Miss Universe thing. They have cured world hunger because they wore an orange t-shirt. So my thing is, how do we make sure we are intentional about maintaining our joy? So here, let me get into that. Joy has always been described as action. My first quote up at the top there by LaToya Brooks. Joy has always been described as divine purpose in action, paying homage to our ancestors. And why this is so important, you have to remember, as Black people, our history didn't start with slavery. That was interrupted. We had our joy before we started losing and fighting to keep our joy. Indigenous folks were living their best life before Christopher Columbus and whoever European come on the ship, Pinta Nina Santa Maria, whatever they want to call their ship, and landed in these places and claim rights to it. And when they claim, what we talk about was land. But we have to remember what they did was also to steal not just land and riches and crowns and pearls and jewelry, but they stole our identity, they stole our joy, they stole so much from us. And what they didn't steal, they killed and murdered. Dr. Campbell, that is a strong word. Let me repeat myself. What they didn't steal, they kill and murder. It's just like when we talk about residential school. We love to have conversation about residential school, but nobody wants to call these building crime scenes. They are crime scenes. They are crime scenes. Murder took place there. Oh, you wasn't ready for this? Well, maybe we can keep it another evening then, if we don't want to do it this evening. But this is my conversation this evening, because when we talk about joy, I heard our president talk about the season, and I absolutely am joyful at this time. I am a Christmas energy person. I just came from my birthday. I am wrapped in joy, but I'm not talking about Christmas joy, and I'm not talking about birthday joy, because let me tell you something. That joy you see me demonstrate over my birthday weekend, Allison, living my best life. Let me be very clear. I cultivated that joy. I have worked on that joy. I have nurtured that joy, and that joy has been under attack. So I am here to encourage all of us to understand that it is important to cultivate that joy. So how are we doing that? Let me ask you a question. How are you cultivating your joy? And I wish I could say, well, let us walk in community. Let us walk in solidarity. Let us remember our Savior. Let us remember what Jesus would have done. I know I'm at a Catholic board. I taught in Catholic school for years, so I understand all of that. Let us follow what our Savior would do. That is a great thing to say. The truth, however, is we have to be intentional about cultivating our joy. We live in a time when we see a lot of depression. We see a lot of sorrow. People who are doing this work are very, very tired. People have been disconnected from the work. People ask me, how do you show up like this, Dr. Campbell? I don't know. People have asked me privately. They pull me aside. I remember during the pandemic when I was going hard, somebody pulled me aside one day online, and she said to me, how are you, DR.ABC? And I said, I'm good. And she turned to me and she said to me that we were on the phone. She said, how are you on the inside? Oh, that reached into me. She said, how are you on the inside? And normally I answer very fast because I'm a quick talker. And what I did at that time, I paused for about a minute. And with a smile, I said to her, I'm good on the inside. We are friends today. We were strangers like then, but we are friends today. And we check on each other. How are you on the inside? I am not talking about what I call performance of joy. Somebody write that down. Somebody write that down, and you can share it. By the way, just so you know I'm maybe too far in before I tell you that. Those persons who are watching, you have my permission to share, to take pictures of any one of my slides, take picture of me, and you have my permission to share. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. You have my permission. Those in the audience listening, you have 100% my permission to do that. So yes, go ahead. I want you to remember that I'm not here to encourage you to perform joy. A lot of us, we have had to perform joy. We had to show up happy because people want to see us happy. I want you to realize cultivating joy is also saying when your joy is not enough, when your joy is running low, when your joy is feeling dried up. That's a part of it, because you cultivate something, you have to nurture it, you have to water it, you have to dig, and you have to manure and fertilize. Sometimes a simple thing you have to do when you're cultivating something is, have you ever seen a person with a plant in their house, and they would take the plant and they would move the plant from here and they put the plant over there, and you say, why you do that? And you say, it needs some extra sunlight. Do you know when you need some extra sunlight? Do you know when you need to be moved over this side so the sun could shine on you? I have moved myself physically, emotionally, spiritually, socially. I have moved myself many times because I know I needed extra sunlight. I know if I stay here in the dark, in the shade, I wasn't going to grow. So ask yourself, how are you cultivating? How are you cultivating that joy that you need? Joy as resistance, our first one. Joy as resistance. What does that look like for you? Because we have this idea that when you're in joy, you don't feel any sorrow. That's not true. Joy is not the absence of sorrow. Joy is in spite of. Joy is amidst. When I go back to my ancestors and think about how when my ancestors were on plantations and they would sing working songs, you have seen that in history, and they're picking cotton and they're singing. They're not singing because they're happy, or they're not singing because they're learning some skill like the crazy people in down south professing to say slavery, we learn skill and all kind of garbage. We're singing because we know that was going to sustain us. And when a Black woman would just stop and just hum and say, that was a whole keynote. That was a whole keynote. You felt it. And my grandmother, I would go to the country in Jamaica and hear my grandmother and you hear her in the kitchen. That's an entire message. You feel something. You feel something because we have joy and we're using joy as resistance. Resistance refers to the act of withstanding or opposing. And in this context, joy can be a form of resistance against oppressive structures, countering rigidity and control in a non-violent way. You have seen how we show up with joy. That's a part of our resistance. Never you forget that. Never you forget that. And think in your own community. Think in your indigenous community. Think in the twist LGBTQ. Think in different community. Think in the Muslim community. Think in Christian. Think in various ways how you show up as joy as resistance. Because if you think about it, we're supposed to be down. We're supposed to be depressed. We're supposed to always be hurting. We're supposed to be always angry. When people see me in joy sometimes, they're disturbed. They're disturbed. I have used my joy to confuse people because they have done you wrong. And they expect you to show up a certain way. They expect you to show up looking beat down and downtrodden. And then they just see me, I am coming, I'm in my best clothes. My boots is more than 2 inches high. It's shine, shine, shine. My pants is giving you everything that it needs. My whole energy is giving you Beyonce, or it's giving you Rihanna's diamond. My joy in resistance is confusing them. Let's talk about joy as resilience. And I'm being very intentional about this slide. I'm being very intentional about the idea of resilience. Now, let me be very, very clear. I want you to lean into this conversation a bit. I have always had to be resilient. My life story has been resilience. I have spoken about resilience many times, and I will always do that, because as I look around our communities, we see the many ways in which we have to be resilient. But I want to be very clear, especially for those who've been listening to this recording in the school boards, everywhere you're going to listen to this recording. I want you to be very clear, especially those of you who are identified as allies, you are activists, you are advocates, you are co-conspirators. You are my accomplice. You like a title. And some of you, let me give you the respect you deserve. Many of you, you walk in those titles. So I have people in my life who have been absolute allies and advocates and co-conspirators. But I want you to understand, when you step up to do the work, it allows me the opportunity to thrive and not always in survival mode. It allows me the opportunity to rest and relax and not always in resilience. I wonder if somebody's quoting me and writing it down. Open quotation mark, write what I said, close quotation mark, then you put DR.ABC, put today's date. When you, my ally, is out there doing what you say you are going to do, being my accomplice, speaking up on my behalf, standing in the gap, raising your hand, calling my name, shielding me from harm, showing up for me, pouring into me, what you are doing is allowing me rest and relaxation instead of always being in resilience mode. We love this picture. Oh, we love this. Oh, I love it too. We used to boast about this picture. I still do, but not to a way lesser extent. There's some songs about it. A rose in a concrete. But let me make something very clear. A concrete like this is not a place for a rose to grow. That's not the natural habitat of the rose. That's not where the rose is supposed to be planted. We boast on this. We show off. We're excited. I have done it myself. I feel like a rose in a concrete. That I am here in spite of what you have tried to destroy me, in spite of the homophobia and the transphobia, in spite of the colonization, in spite of the anti-Black racism, in spite of the anti-Blackness, two different things. You need to get into the anti-Blackness one of these days. In spite of your ageism and your sexism, in spite of you're denying me my proper pronoun, in spite of your erasing people's existence, in spite of you pretending as if a disabled person is not there, in spite of you not investing in access and accessibility, we have survived. We have been resilient. But I want you to pull a little bit back and ask yourself, I always do my time check. Wonderful. We're doing absolute fabulous for time. What if I was watered? What if I was watered? What if you take the time out to pour water on me, to make sure I am watered, to make sure I'm given the sunlight and the adequate soil and food and fertilizer and nourishment? What if you take the time out to spray me, make sure the pesticides is done so the pests don't eat off my leaves? Imagine if I was pruned and protected. Imagine. Sometime I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to tell you a story. At the age of 10, I've always wanted to be a dancer. I'm a very good dancer, I think. I know. Well, I've won some awards, so I know. I want to dance. And I go to, I'm from a Pentecostal Christian background. My mom passed away last year. May her soul rest in peace. Love my mom so much. Everybody who knows me know. But at the age of 10, my neighbor took me to a ballet class. To, just for the ballet teacher to see me, because she knew I wanted to dance. And the ballet teacher, I remember she said, I could see the ballet in you. And I ran home to my mom to tell her that the ballet teacher at my neighbor's school said she could see the ballet in me and I want to be a dancer. My mom says no. She said no. Our church don't believe in dancing, and we don't believe in little boys dancing. I've had a discussion with my mother, don't you worry. Since I'm big, we had a discussion. And I said, Mommy, if I had gone to ballet class, I would have been a star. I would have been a star. You'd have to join the line at the theater to watch me come on stage. I would have been a star if I was given the dance, water, fertilizer, love, and care, nurturing. But sometimes life happens and I'm not living in any kind of, trauma over it. We have let it go. I am a star today in education. A star, an absolute star, and not a star because I work at the University of Toronto. No. Not a star because I'm assistant professor. No. Not a star because somebody gave me a job as an immigrant. No, I'm a star because I have cultivated the stardom and the starness in me. That's my words. Tell Oxford I use the word. Those are my words. I'm a star as a grade 1 teacher. A star as a grade 2 teacher. Ask yourself, how are you working on making sure you're watering yourself? So this is what we want. We don't want this. We need this. And we want this. Joy, flourishing, handled with care. If I had the time and I was in a workshop, I'd have gone around to every single one of you. There are 49 of us in the room, 50 of us. I make 49, I make 50. And I would say to you, how are you being handled with care? And I'm going to go personal. I'm not talking about just your job here in the school board. Are you being handled with care at home? Are you being handled with care in your personal life, your relationships? Are you being handled with care? Make sure you tell the people who are responsible for handling you, remind them that you must be handled with care. I could give you an entire speech on this because so many people are struggling because they are not being handled with care. They're not being given the appreciation, the love, and the respect, and the adulation, and the affirmation they need. Every time, I want you to know this, Allison, because you introduced me and you said something personal. Every time I open my email, which happens quite a bit, and I see somebody send me a personal message, hey, DR.ABC, I was at your workshop, and OMG, so nice, blah, 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 whatever. I want you to know, you know what I do, Allison? I take that compliment from the email. I take it and I treat it. Let me take off these rings because I don't play. I treat it like lotion. I treat it like lotion, Allison. I pour the email in my hand and I lather it like this. Anybody felt that? I lather it like this. Imagine if we affirm each other. Just imagine what my joy feels like when I take that compliment from the email and I lather myself in it. I lotion myself in it. And I use the word lotion for a reason. I am not dry. I feel my energy just move and just shift. I am not dry. I am not dry because somebody is giving me something that I can lather myself in. So I am not dry. I know what I'm doing. Sometimes people see me talk, they say, Dr. Campbell, you don't know what you did. I know. My spirit, my energy just asked me to sit here for a while, to say to the people in the room, make sure those who are responsible for your care, they're handling you with care. And when I say those, who do I mean? I mean the principal, the vice principal, the superintendent, the school board, the place you go, the shop you go to, the player you go, the restaurant you eat at. Let me tell you something. I had my birthday weekend. And I choose this restaurant called D1. It's at the Aga Khan Museum. I'm not advertising for them free because they give me nothing free. But let me tell you something. I have been to that restaurant maybe 6 or 7 times, and I have brought people with me. I had 27 people in my guests. When I've been there many times, and I have had 30, I've had 15, I've had 6. Let me tell you something. I told the supervisor yesterday, I said Sunday after my brunch, I said to him, you know the reason why I keep coming back here? I said, I see the level of opulence and I see all the people. And I said to him, I have never felt that I was given less service. Right at Sunday, I said it to him. I'm on recording to tell you the truth. I'm on recording. I pulled the supervisor of the Aga Khan restaurant, the Diwan, which is, and I pulled him aside and I said, because they know me. I said, do you know why I keep coming in and I bring our whole crowd of people to eat here? I said, I've never felt like you gave me less. Never. And I say that on record. I have been to many places and I am not, and I can smell it. I can feel it that I'm not being handled with care. I have been places as a guest speaker and people mistake me for catering. How dare you respect a tall, black, gorgeous man dressed like this for catering? You know why you did that? Because you have no expectation of me. You are always in deficit. You see blackness, you see indigenous, you see whatever, and immediately you go to less. And I've been places, let me tell you something, I've been places, Michelle, and when I pull up to the front desk, good afternoon, DR.ABC. We have your room ready. I'm the keynote speaker. They know who I am. Somebody on the planning committee, let the front desk know who I am. Oh, I feel my energy. Somebody's putting my energy so strong tonight. Ask yourself, I want to stay here. My spirit just says stay here for a while. I want you to ensure you are being handled with care. It's your job, Michelle, to turn to me and say, DR.ABC, you know, when you hang out with me, you do not give me the kind of care I need as your friend. Michelle, I want you to do that. I want you to say to me, the persons who care for you, the persons who are in your presence, you don't have to shout. You don't have to fight. You don't have to flip the table like the housewives of New Jersey. You pull them aside and I say, DR.ABC, I would love for you to handle me with a little more care. Tell them what you need. We used to sing this song back in Jamaica at Sunday school. We said, Jesus on the telephone. Tell him what you need. Tell him what you need right now. Someone silver, someone gold. But I want Jesus in my soul. Jesus on the telephone. Tell him what you need right now. Tell the people who are in charge of handling you to handle you with care. We move on. Joy as reclamation. Oh, I'm coming back to that here. You don't worry. Hold a minute. Joy as reclamation. Why we have to reclaim? What are we reclaiming? We know that. We know what we have lost. We know the freedom and the access and the spaces we have lost. We know how many times. I'm going to tell you a story. Every time I tell a story, I just want you to know it's purposeful. I don't put stories on my note pages often, because they come to me. I was shortlisted for a job a couple years ago. A job that I used to work for the college and I did extremely well. And it was time for me to move on a full-time position. And when I went to the interview, it was 5 white women, all amazing people that I would teach in the program. But I could sense from the question and the energy in the room that there was no space for a tall, black, immigrant, openly gay, strong Jamaican accent person on the team. No sense of belonging. They don't see me belonging there. And that wasn't my issue. I deserved that job. I was the most qualified, and I've made it very clear because I don't do that. No, don't you ever think I've done that. I have gotten so many short lists, and I was not the choosing candidate, and they send me and I say thank you and I move on. But this particular one, I know I was being robbed. And I'm going to tell you what I did, because some of you, I'm putting this on video so you know what I did. And I would never advise anybody to do what I do, but I know what I had to do for me to reclaim. I taught in that program, I taught the last courses, the highest level courses in that program. The highest, I taught the research 1, the research 2, the reflective practice, the introduction to science. Like I taught the, I am amazing. And I'm shortlisted. Now give me a chance to walk into my season, to walk into a bigger position, promotion. And I was not selected. Then what I saw happen was that they called me to tell me I wasn't the candidate. And then she was ready to give me feedback, because now that you have stolen from me the position I'm supposed to get, what you have to do now is you have to now to create a lie to give me a lying feedback. I want you to know that I've gotten a lot of feedback in my life about jobs I didn't get. I accept it. But this one, I know you are stealing from me. And so you know what I did? When the HR person called me, I'm going on record to tell you this. And she said, Dr. Campbell, you know, I said, stop. I said, no. I said, this was supposed to be my job, my position. Said, you choose your friend, and then they send you to now kill my spirit by telling me I was not good enough. I said, thank you so much for the opportunity, and I hung up the phone. I am on record to tell you from one of Ontario's colleges. So when I talk certain things, don't you ever think that I'm coming here to give you Humpty Dumpty story. I have walked in my truth. Walked in my truth. I taught at that school for years, that college part-time. And I said to the person, I said, you're not going to now create a lie to give me a lie feedback to now kill my spirit. We have to reclaim. We have to reclaim space. We have to reclaim voice. We have to reclaim our energy, and we have to reclaim our joy. Too many of us are walking around with dried up joy. Too many of us are walking around with dried up joy. So let me get into this last 10 minutes to go. Watch me carefully. 4 things I want to share with you. First one, know your source of joy. I'm writing this in a chapter. So a year from now, you'll get this in a chapter. A year from now, you'll get all this, what I'm talking about, in a book chapter, especially these 4 points. Been working on it for a while. Know your source of joy. It's important as people who are working in equity, in inclusion, in decolonizing, in fighting against isms and racism and creating space. You have to know your source of joy. What brings you joy? What gives you joy? You know why you need to know that? Because whenever you are low on joy, you have to go to the source. And you can have many sources. For me, yeah, prayer is a source. I'm a very prayerful person. People know me, could tell you that. That's my source. But I also have friends who pour joy into me, and I can talk to those particular people. I also like traveling. And so I make sure I engage in that. I invest money into that. I like cooking a good meal. I like when I hear the pot is bubbling and the steam and the house full of the smell, and I get to sprinkle some good seasoning. Oh, I get excited. If you see me on social media, I am a whole vibe when I'm cooking. It's give me joy. What are your sources of joy? Because you're going to need it, to know it, to be clear. What are those sources? I want you also, number 2, know when your source of joy is running low, because it will. Do not ever walk out of this talk and say, well, Dr. Campbell was so nice. And he told us that we have to be in joy 24/7, 365. We are always fabulous. We are always like Rihanna. We are always like Beyonce. We are supercalifragilisticexpialidocious all the time. You tell a lie. You tell a lie just now, because I didn't say that. I want you to be very clear that there are going to be times when your joy is going to run low. Anybody see what's happening up there? I'm taking the plant analogy to a level. Look at the person leading up a ladder. Look at this person on the left. That person is pouring water. And the person on the right, actually, I kind of like the person on the right, because she tends to be, look at, she's tending to the leaf. I don't know if she's fixing the leaf. I don't know if she's picking off some dry leaves around the flower, but she's tending to it. Some of you need to go tend to your joy, you know. Some of you need to tend to your joy. You are going to have a Christmas without joy because you are not tending to your joy. So when I see you during the holidays and you look miserable, because you're not tending to your joy. Whose responsibility it is to tend to your joy? I'm going to tell you, it's yours. Take responsibility and tend to your joy. That's a quote. Take responsibility and tend to your joy. Number 3, know how to protect your joy. If you believe as a 2S LGBTQIA+ person, if you believe as a person with a certain kinds of disability, if you believe people feel the level of obligation, which they actually should, to respect you and appreciate you and let you get to walk in your wholeness, it's not happening. I have seen people speak to people in ways that I go, they strip you of your dignity. I have seen conversation with people who have certain neurodiversity and whatever, and I go, look at that. Look at how they're being treated right in Canada here, right in 2023. What are we treating people with a level of disrespect? We almost would push people who are disabled. Literally, if we could push them aside without getting in trouble, we would push them aside. If we could push some of these people with certain disability aside without getting into trouble, we push them aside. We have no respect, no empathy, no love, no care, no gentleness. So now we have to know, be in certain position, and then we have to constantly be protecting our joy. But here is the truth. You have to. That is just the truth. I know it's heavy. I know it's heavy. I know it's heavy. But I'm saying to you with a lot of love, you have to learn how to protect your joy. And if we had 2 hours, I could give you many ways. Because sometimes you have to know when to move on. I met someone who was 5 years to retirement. Miserable, 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 miserable. And the person said to me, I can't wait for 5 years. I don't know, because my personality, I was shocked. And then, my mouth sometimes, have to say what the heart is saying. I turned to this person, I pulled her aside, and I said, no. I said, you can't be here for 5 more years this miserable. I said, you're going to come to work with pain. I said, you're going to have back pain and shoulder pain. I said, you're going to start to have upset stomach. I said, you're going to feel all kind of cramps. I said, you are going to age faster. I said, you're going to even don't want to eat certain things. People don't even realize when you are unhappy, there are certain things that are so in work in your body. I have had moments when I have been unhappy and I plan to eat breakfast. I plan to order something nice, something really nice, like the soft yolk egg Benedict on a toast with home fries. Like, I love that. I was going to order, and then I got something happened and I got so pissed. I don't want no home fries and no egg Benedict with no soft yolk. I lose my appetite. I am so offended. I lose my appetite. I go upstairs and I just want to lie down. I turn off the lights. I just want to lie down. Imagine that happened to you constantly. You won't have any favorite food, no favorite song, no favorite drink. During the pandemic, I used to work so hard, Erin, and I used to, when the evening comes and I'm ready to take care of myself, I run the bath in my house. I fill the bath. I put on my music. I put on either Nina Simone, when she said, birds flying high. I just love me some Nina Simone. I order in some wings, because I like wings. I don't like it too wet, so I ask them for the dry wings. I don't like the wet up wings. I go downstairs, Renee, and I pour 3 or 4 Cuba ice in the glass. I pour a little vodka in it, just a little bit. And then I pour a ginger beer over it. Oh, I feel like I need one after this. And then I go into the bathroom and I slip into the bath with my wings, my ginger beer, my music. I live my best life. I'm protecting my joy. I am repairing. I'm living my best life. You have to know how to protect your joy. You have to be intentional about that. I spoke to that person. I said, you cannot do this for 5 years. I said, it's gonna not be well. And then I gave her the good news or the shocking news. And I said, and when you are not well and you're sick and you go home, they're gonna hire somebody new. And the person is going to put your flowers outside and put something new on the wall. She looked at me shocked. I said, if you think they're going to close this office and let it and make it be like, oh my God, it's a shrine to you. No. So you need to be responsible of protecting your joy. Know how much of joy. Now here comes a good part. Know how much of your joy you have to give to others. Because let me tell you this, we must give joy to somebody else. You can't keep it by yourself. You have to share it. And we are leaning on you to share it. I know sometimes you feel stressed and you feel heavy, and it's here we come again, leaning on you. And the reason why we do that is because you have demonstrated such joy, and we want some of your joy. But know how much of your joy to give. You can't just pour out all your joy and leave yourself empty. I'm going to be very honest with you. I give people joy. I'm a joy giver. But I always tell them, no, I'm keeping this for me. I pour into myself as well. I want you to know that. And so I wrap up before we go into Q&A. We're going to close, then we're going to start the recording. I want to leave it to you just a few quick reminders. Some of these come from research. The kind of place people, they're getting joy from. This researcher talks about, just the joy that comes from the photo of their parents on the turntable and hearing the narratives. The mother's initial gift of life, the joy of being a mother, the joy of being a father, the joy of just giving back, restoring. Storytelling as joy. Willful and resistant happiness. That is something else. Willful and resistant happiness in the face of oppression. Radical joy simultaneously confronts injustice as anger does, as it builds felt relations in communities as love accomplishes. Yes, you can be in joy and be quite radical at the same time. We are committed to every day's joy. Foster joy. Foster joy. Foster joy. Foster joy. I leave you with that. Remember, our joy matters. Our joy matters. Your joy matters. Do not limit yourself. Do not be satisfied with a little cup of joy when you can have joy overflowing. I have to go take another minute because I have to do this. I have to say this. Some of us, like myself, we come from very humble Caribbean background. We come from backgrounds where our parents would teach us, especially in a Christian background, how to humble ourselves, to be seen and not heard, to wait on the Lord to promote you and appoint you. I grew up in all of that. I grew up in all of that narrative, only to find that we have kept ourselves back, being satisfied with just so much less. I want you to know that you are deserving of joy. Alexandra, Anna, Barbara, Dakota, Dean, Diana, Doreen, Craig, Ian, Jackie, Jamal, Jenna, Jessica, Barbara, whoever you are, Nicole, Patrice, Stephen, Teddy, all of us here, we are deserving of joy. Your joy matters. Your joy matters. Stand in resistance, stand in resilience, stand in reclamation. But in all of that, make sure it's sprinkled. Anybody remember during COVID when we saw the man and he would come and he did the salt and he would do, and anybody remember in COVID? Everybody was doing the thing. Yeah, the little, yeah. Everything you do, sprinkle that, sprinkle that, sprinkle that with joy. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for having me. We're going to go to some Q&A at this time and we're going to stop the recording. Thank you, thank you, thank you.